Here we go, getting ready for install of the Allegheny River Bridge. All the parts are made at this point. Probably a few minor things to make yet, but everything's made. You can see all the supports up there. I printed all the supports on my my FDM printer, what some people would call a filament printer. They're just big blocky parts. It kind of lends itself to that. So got the track removed, got everything cleared up, and I've gone in here and made some marks so where I'm gonna cut out the temporary span for the new bridge to fit in. And then we got some framework to do before we can do anything else. And yeah, let me get some things done here and we'll check back. Alright, so I got this riser built in here that will be the river bottom. Always intended it to be this way, where this would kind of give me a little bit of a shelf storage space under the scene. You can see got everything out of here, and I cut the temporary span at the right length to fit the bridge in, and I've got the laser level on it, and I've cut some new 2x4 support to stick in there. Got everything pretty level end to end. So now what I want to do is draw a center line in between these two piers, because the bridge sits at a slight angle in the scene. So when I 3D printed these supports, there's 1/4-20 screw threads in the bottom of these supports. So what I'll do is I'll mark the center line, mark all the center location, all the piers. I'll drill for the holes, and then I can screw up with some machine screws from the inside to hold the piers in place. And then if I got to shim them a little bit, I can just loosen the screws, slide some shims under them, tighten them back down. And I've given myself a little bit of play here in the height that I should have to shim all of them a little bit. So that's kind of this step. And then I'll have to think exactly how I'm going to do it, but I did make some abutments that I'll attach here on the ends. Look at that a little closer. Just did these on my FDM machine. Came out pretty good. It's a pretty crude method of printing, but it works. So, alright, we'll get these laid out and start getting them in. Alright, so got everything laid out, and I got the piers all bolted in and screwed up from the bottom, just a pair of 1/4-20 screws, and set the bridge in place, and got my laser level out. Had it sitting on the tripod here, shooting across the top of the deck, and I just set down some temporary rails there so I could get everything level. And if you see, there's like a little bit of gap around the bottom of these piers. That's where I was going in and shimming. I could loosen those screws up, raise the piers up a little bit, get everything shimmed until it was looking nice and level. Going right across the top there. So now I think what I gotta do is work on, I'm probably going to have to pull this track up a little bit on the approach, get the approaches nice and realigned, and then get this track painted and get the second one in there, get it glued down, and then start thinking about maybe guide rails. See how I'm going to do that. The bridge today does not have guide rails, but if you find older pictures, it used to. And I don't know when they came out or what the thought process was of why they must have decided they didn't need them. But I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get the track firmed up, and then we'll start thinking about landforms. Okay. Alright, so probably skipped a few steps here, got busy working and forgot to film stuff. But where we're at, I got the approaches all nice and leveled out, and all the track laid across and reconnected, and I had to realign the curves coming into the approaches. Got the track in. I'm just using Atlas Snap Track, going a little old school. I'll show you why here in a second, because it probably raises some eyebrows, I'm sure. And right now I'm putting in the guardrails. So Atlas Code 83 sectional track, and then I'm taking this Microengineering Code 70 rail, and I'm just sort of bumping it up against the tie plates and gluing it in, and you can see the effect I got there. So once you do that, you kind of cover the weird end ties on the snap track, and by the time it's ballasted, I don't think anybody will come down and realize it's just sectional track. At least not without a really good hard look. So why the sectional track? So one, it gives lots of room for expansion the bridge is 3D printed, and the material is hydroscopic, so it does expand and contract with some moisture. I am climate controlled down here. I keep the humidity between 40 to 60% year-round, as an effort to keep not just the layout stable, but the whole house, really. But you never know, systems fail, so you don't want to have a huge disaster just because something quits one day. And it's kind of an unknown, something this big. So I wanted plenty of room for that. But then moreover, years ago, I saw Ken Patterson on What's Neat This Week gap his track with a Dremel tool to get a click-clack effect. And because I'm modeling the 50s, I really wanted to do that. Not everywhere. He didn't do it everywhere. He just did it on a section on his layout. But I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to do a section, and ever since I started planning this layout in my head, I thought the section to do it on would be this bridge. So as I was laying the sectional track, I had some of this 40,000 styrene strip, and I just used that as a spacer to leave these, you know, kind of large gaps, honestly. Now, I've done this before. I've never had a derailment because of it. Even backing up, you know, 60, 70 car trains, it really doesn't matter for that. But you do absolutely get this really nice and the 9-inch sectional track is pretty close to 40 foot or 39 foot or whatever rail length was. It's not exact, it's pretty close. And yeah, I know the joints are right across and they would have been staggered, but I've experimented with this, and when you get to actually doing the staggered joints, by the time you get a train running across it, it almost just sounds like the cars are derailed. You don't really hear the click-clack. It's just this noise. So this was kind of the happy medium of, getting several things I wanted all at once, for expansion, contraction, and the click-clack, and everything else. So the microengineering rail, of course, is in 3-foot sections, but it's just in joiners too, and it also has gaps, so everything can slide around up here a little bit. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And we'll finish getting these guardrails glued in here, and maybe do some test trains. The little Bessemer sign there, I got to glue it in place permanently. It's just on there with some painter's tape right now. A word on the supports. So out of everything on the bridge, and there is plenty not right about this bridge. I want to be really clear about how much I know it is not dead accurate. It is pretty close. The truss work is pretty close. The pattern of, which way heavy beams are going versus light beams, in which direction and how many, that I'm pretty sure is exactly right. But exactly what those beams look like and how they're joined and everything else is not right. That's a combination of how I could draw it and get it to print realistically. So there's compromises all around. The way the layout is oriented, we're looking at the north side of the bridge. This sign is on the south side of the bridge. But I'm going to put it there because, it's cool. The bridge is probably the wrong color, and this is close to what color it is now, but in the 50s, I have been unable to figure out what color it was, but I know it wasn't green because I have found pictures in the, I'm not sure, 60s or 70s based on the cars and clothes. It was silver. And I'm guessing it's Corten steel. It might have been unpainted originally. But I did the green in the sign because that's how everybody knows it today. It makes it more recognizable. The supports, I just sort of modeled them as concrete supports, and they're stacked stone, and they're more of a darker brown. I looked trying to find a color that might match that better, and I did some experiments, and nothing looked right. So I'm just like, I can just print them when the print lines in the FDM actually give it a little bit of texture, it's not really coming out on the camera. You know, it's subtle, but they're not dead smooth. And I think they look good. They're definitely not, you know, right. But one of the tenets of me building this layout is this layout's huge. And so far, I've had no help really doing any of this. I mean, I started painting the ceiling and drywalling in the basement and everything else, and demolishing what was down here before. I mean, all these sheets of drywall and everything else. I mean, I wrestled these on the cart by myself, threw them in the truck, brought them downstairs, put it all up. I mean, every board, every wire, every screw. So, you know, I'm rolling up towards 5 years. I've been working on this layout now. And there's a point when you start thinking through, you know, how many hours you have in your life to do something. And if I took the time to try to do everything totally right, this layout will never get built. So there's points when I have to kind of look back, and my guiding principle is, does it have the look and feel? Does someone look at it and know what it's supposed to be? Is it mostly right? If the answer is yes to all those things, I don't sweat the rest. You know, a good example, my Greenville shops are laid out nothing like the real Greenville shops. But does it have a half roundhouse? Yes. Is there shops for working on cars and a transfer table with diesel shops and everything else? Yes. Every single person that's ever walked in this basement that knows the Bessemer at all has walked in the door and said, this must be Greenville. So, mission accomplished. I could go on a long list of what's not right about it, but it's serving the purpose. And even a lot of my non-railroad friends, as not done as this scene is, has come down here, looked at this and said, oh, is this going into Mercer? They know right where it's at. And I think that's super cool. And by the time I get that more done, I bet that'll be even more obvious. So, you know, if people come down here and look at this and go, man, is that big bridge next to the turnpike? Good enough. So anyway, that's that. So we'll keep getting the guardrails in, and then do some test trains, and then I think I'll get the last of the feeders in, paint the track, and after the track's painted, we can look at ballasting the deck, because it is a ballasted deck bridge. And for anybody that didn't see one of my older videos, that was just a section that I tried printing that didn't go so well, and I just threw some old scrap track on there, and so that'll kind of be the look when it's done. And actually, this is a good piece to talk about, you know, things that are right and things that are wrong. This was more correct. You can kind of see these very lacy beams, you know, that I printed, and they just, you can kind of see they come out, and it was hard to keep them straight. At that point, the plastic's just so thin. It prints, but it doesn't mean it survives. Not reliably. And then I was thinking, gosh, if it, you know, I did this just trying to get to this point, how would it last over years? So, you know, I just changed the design to be these more solid beams, and they're a lot sturdier. They definitely work better, but they're not right. But it was a compromise on what you can make, realistically. All right, so yeah, I can kind of picture, what that'll look like when it's done. I think it'll be pretty cool. Um, and then once the track's painted and we start ballasting the deck, start working on landforms, which is probably my least favorite part of doing all this stuff. I'm not a scenery guy, which I'm sure anybody that watches the channel has figured out by now. I mean, it'll all get done eventually. It's not like I won't do it. It's just, I don't know. It's like that chore you put off as long as you can. But also, I don't know. I'm very much in the mindset I like to build everything first. I'm one of those people, when I eat all of one thing, and then all of the next thing, and then all of the next thing. Um, um, and I think I approach building the same way. I built all the bench work. Now I'm doing all the track work. Then you do all the scenery. So I try to make exceptions for that here and there. But it's not in my nature. And the way I figure right now, I got 2 more years of laying track before it's all done. So, all right, boy, I've been spitting a lot of words out here. All right, let's cut it off here and keep laying guardrail. So getting to do some of the, what I'll call cleanup and detail work. Connecting this plate girder section here on the end didn't really have any good pictures or anything of how it, how it connects. But I know it doesn't just hang there. So I sketched up just a stupid little truss. It's down here underneath. You're not really going to see it anyway. And if I did my job right, yeah, I should just about fit in there like that. And all of a sudden it doesn't look like there's just a hole in there. And we'll glue that in place. And, from standing way back. Yeah, it looks like there's something there. So by the time, that's going to get filled in with landform about like that, and there'll be some brush and stuff under there, you really won't notice that it's a joke. All right, getting the last of the guardrails in here. And get some track painted, get on the landforms. All right, so the guardrails are in. Work train's heading out. Got all my feeders connected, and the track is painted. So kind of a little bit of an up close look there, what the track looks like with the guardrails in. What I used to paint the track was this Tamiya red-brown XF64, and I just thin it about 50-50 with alcohol and shoot it. So that brings us to a close on track work. All the ends are aligned, and the one thing I did reconnect, it's a good thing I didn't forget. As soon as I see it, boy, I did a good job of hiding it. Where the heck is it? Right about in here, there's a insulator I put in, and the track from here to the gate is on a kill switch if the gate is open. In fact, with the work train heading out here, we could test that just to show you that that does work. So, and it's saved me a few times. So if I leave the gate open, you can kind of see the micro switches there. When those are closed, that puts power to the rails. So those are in on all the approaches to the gate. So it should be just about past the insulator now. Yep. Keep Alive's got it. Until it doesn't. So if I shut the gate, there it comes back to life. So it's a good thing to do. Got a gate like that. The boys putting the rails in did a heck of a nice job here the last couple days. Everything's nice and smooth. Work train's heading back to Greenville. Alright, so that just leaves us down to start working on landforms. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so we are at the north end of the bridge, and I've got the landform mostly roughed in, emphasis on rough. So at this point, pretty much it's stacked. So this will be the water line down here. Then we have, I think it was the B&O. Tracks crossing under there, Freeport Road, and then just the land up. Tried to, get a little bit of the fill leading up to the bridge, which I know is very long and very large, but very abbreviated here, kind of up the abutment, and then try to make it look like the, you know, the hillside carried on and the railroad cut through it, leading up to the bridge. And then I did kind of just, you know, while I was here, the mine here in the corner, I always kind of meant it to sit back in a holler like that, kind of a little bit, you know, hidden. That kit has a little mine track coming off that one corner. I am going to make a little mine track that goes into a tunnel on the hillside there. So lots of carving to do there yet. So I'll give this a few days to set. I use Liquid Nails Projects. It works really good on the foam, but I do find it takes a very long time to completely set up, like days. So I find if I start pushing on it and carving now, you start moving stuff around. So I'll give it a few days. I'll start working on the south end. And then there's, I'll do the south end next. And then there's kind of a island in the middle of the river here. I'll get that built up. I did get another shipment of ballast to do the ballast across the top deck and through this scene. Just using the Scenic Express blended ballast, which is what I used over here. Like the looks of it. Nice to work with. Yeah. So pretty much, you know, my process in doing this is just to cut pieces that fit and sort of roughly shape it with the hot wire as I go. Get it all stacked in there, glued in there, and then come back and start shaping from here. Once I have all that, I'll just kind of, I call it the hard candy shell. I'll just sort of smooth it all over with plaster just to get it nice and smooth, because here in the eastern US, you know, hillsides are all pretty smooth. You know, unlike out west. And the one exception might be right along the tracks there. I might make fairly steep, maybe some rock cut, where the tracks came through. So anyway, there it is, the north end. And I think I'll probably cut this video about here because I'm sure it's getting quite long. See some trains run across it, and maybe I'll come back in a couple weeks when more is done and do an update on how things are progressing here at the Allegheny River Bridge. Alright, but I got this double-headed 210-4 ore train. Let's see it come across. All right. See everybody here next time on the HO Scale, Bessemer Lake Erie.